am Draken, and this is the DrakenGameWerks, and we are back exactly where we left off from the last episode. As you can see, we are on the Draken. No, it's the S.P.I.R.E SkyCarrier in the background there, under construction at the moment. Last episode, we put in sort of these big engines here. We still haven't put the rotor blades in yet. That's going to be something we'll probably do in a later episode, maybe even later this episode. We'll see how we feel. And in the background, we've got some of the internal components there. So we've got the farms, we've got the storage facility, the engine room, the portal room, the bridge, and everything else built in there. But I think in this episode, I think we're going to try and crack on and get some of the hangars and the aircraft decks built on top of the SkyCarrier, that we can then build the hull up to and around. We might need to do a bit of planning on where the hull is going to be, at least in its very basic form, around this base as well. So we're going to crack on and do that this episode. So I've begun the planning of the actual decks that are going to go across the top, or at least the hangar decks for the carrier itself. And as you can see, we've kind of got like a framework in place here for where the various different sort of decks are. So there's going to be a couple of different size aircraft. Like the aircraft that we see that I built a couple of episodes ago in Spawn. I'm going to have a version of that in its own little hangar bay down the front here. So that's what this big one here is for. And then there's some other little squares here that's obviously designed for like the various different sort of hangar levels that are going to be in here. So we're going to have some aircraft in this sort of hangar area here. And we'll probably have some more up on this upper deck as well. So we're going to have two top decks. So we got this sort of, you can see I've sort of created a sort of a framework here to sort of design the sort of diagonal runway that goes across the back of the ship here. Again, very much inspired by the Shield helicarrier and that sort of design, in that it's got the two flight decks with the diagonal one across the top. And of course, in modern aircraft carriers, the ones that have a diagonal flight deck, it's usually built into the main deck itself. But I like the idea of having the two levels of the decks there as well. So you've got two different flight decks. And the spire we see here, I had it at the end of the last episode. This actually goes up to spawn height, so it lets me know how high I can go with the carrier itself. The tower won't go all the way up to that height because we're going to have some antenna on there, but there'll probably be it'll probably come up to around about this sort of level here. We'll have like a control tower for controlling the decks as well. We'll build that into there. But this is just to give me an idea of where I'm going to be placing all the various hangar bays that are going to exist beneath the actual deck, as well as the top level decks. So I can start placing concrete basically and start actually putting some stuff down to start sort of forming out this this carrier design. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that sort of planning out. You'll notice I've used Netherrack for this, and there's a good reason why I use Netherrack. It's because it's really easy to demolish, and I've got loads of it after building up the tunnels. So Netherrack's a really good material for if you're in survival and you're doing planning out stuff. You know, if you're in creative, then things like wool is maybe a bit better because you can color code it and stuff. But if you're just planning out in survival, then yeah, just Netherrack seems to be is a good way of doing it. Because as I say, it's really quick. You can insta mine it easily with your pickaxe without needing a beacon. So it's easy enough to actually use that. But yeah, let's start getting some concrete down into some of the lower hangars and let's see where we can get with that. Okay, it's a few days later, and we've started to fill in some of the decking here down here. So we've got the hangar deck has started to be filled in here with the concrete. It doesn't look like a lot, but that is a lot of concrete that's had to be used there. I've had to go back and forward to the mining messer quite a few times, go do a lot of squid hunting to get a lot of the black ink that's needed for all of this as well. But it's starting to get there. I'm starting to get a bit of an idea of the shape of here. I'm going to have to sort of fill in the hangar decks. Now, this isn't complete. You can see we've got torch spam everywhere at the moment, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle lighting here, whether I'm just going to do hidden lighting beneath carpets on the floor, or whether we're going to try and actually sort of light it up through other means. Might also be potentially possible. But we got a few things here. We got like the lifters here, which I'm going to probably finish off. Still a bit more work to be done here. There's this is the main hangar deck that we're on here. This lowered section for the hangar deck is probably going to be. I was going to have this as like a lift coming up, but actually I think I'm going to have it as like just an open side on here, actually, that the ships can fly in and out of on the side here. And this is going to be for the larger style ship, like the one we got over in Spawn. You'll be able to see those sort of spawned into there. Yeah, and then we're going to sort of around here, this is probably all going to be main fighter bays and everything else. And if we sort of nip down underneath, there is another slightly lower deck down here, smaller deck here, for maybe like just storing like a single fighter that's being repaired, which has like a balcony that looks into our main storage and engine room here. So there's kind of that little connection there as well. But yeah, we're going to do a little bit more. I want to sort of put some supporting structure in, work out where all the bays are. There might be a bit more markings I want to put down on the floor, so I might change some of the grey concrete out for some yellow markings or white markings around the place. But we're starting to get an idea of how it's starting to sort of lay out a bit. So I've just come over to my S.P.I.R.E surplus here, where I'm selling a lot of stuff in between sort of building here, just to check on stocks and sales. And sales are kind of okay at the moment, though I seem to be spending more diamonds on everyone else's shops than I'm getting in my own. But yeah, still, that's fine. And there's these things being added to my aircraft down here. I mean, it's a good job the aircraft doesn't have to go anywhere. I don't know if they're sort of thinking that I need balloons on the top here. I mean, we left balloons back in Season 1, you know. I've done the whole airship balloon thing before, so we don't need balloons anymore. We've moved on to more advanced technology than that at the moment. So maybe they thought that we needed a bit of an assistance to sort of get it up in the air. I don't know who's added these, but it does give me an idea. I mean, obviously they will have to come down eventually because the aircraft is going to need to leave, but I think while we're here, yeah, I think we can use take this to our advantage here. Okay then, and since we have balloons added to there, we've added a few more balloons around our gates for the month of January, because January is traditionally the January sales. So let's put a little bit of a promotion on. We have a promotion here: 1 stack of rockets free with every diamond spent in the surplus store in January, and also 1 ender chest free with every 10 diamonds spent in January there as well, whilst the stocks last. And yeah, we have a barrel full of ender chests there, and a barrel full of rockets there as well. So that just adds a little extra incentive for people to come and shop here and spend their diamonds here. So hopefully that will go down nicely and down the treat this month with that as well. Also, while I've been down here, I also upgraded the lights here. So they did have just wool in them because we didn't have any sea lantern supplies. But now Mighty has set up a guardian farm, so I purchased a load of sea lanterns, and we've popped them up into the lights here so that the spotlights that sort of shine down here actually do shine, and rather than just being white wool. And we are back again in our storage room, and you can see we've got a bit of a shulker monster building up here, which we'll have to sort out at some point. But we now have a few new additions. So either side of this doorway there is now some water elevators, which if we take them up, brings us up to this little repair bay here. Probably put some like accessories in here at some point in the future, but for the time being we have a small fighter jet tucked in here, and it's tucked in just in front of this, which is sort of the lift maintenance area. So this is like the fighter lift that will take the fighters up and down, and we got a bit more detail than, I'll say a bit more detail. I've done a lot of work since the last time we were here, as you can see. So you may recognise this design of craft here, because we had built one of these a couple of episodes ago back in Spawn at our shop. That's at S.P.I.R.E surplus. So we've got another one here. I haven't quite finished the insides yet, but the exterior is all done, and I've sorted all the lighting out as well, which is pretty cool as well. So the lighting works really well with the shader mods here. But that's not all we've done. So obviously we've got this little bay section here for the larger craft, and then if we come up the steps here, you can see we have hangar bays here as well at this end of the ship. You got these a couple of different types of craft. So this isn't more of those fighter craft that we saw earlier that I had in the repair bay, except for these ones have got their wings folded up, just as you do on a normal aircraft carrier. Like a lot of aircraft on an aircraft carrier will have foldable wings so that they can actually tuck into their bays a bit neater, so you can actually store more of them and you've got a bit more space. And we got these ones as well. I call them these, I don't know, I think I might call them sparrows or something like that. I got an idea of like a sparrow jet or something like that. Bit like basically an all-purpose jet. I haven't done the insides out in here yet either, but might just sort of do them a little bit different on each one depending on what mission they're required for. But they're basically small personnel transports, basically. Combined with, obviously, then we have the fighters over there. And then we have a bit of a walkway here going down this end. And as we get down towards this end, you can see we've got another fighter sat on the lift itself, just being transported up to what will be the top deck, which we haven't built yet, but we'll get on with that next. And then if we tuck around here. No, normally you could just go down the other stairs and come up these ones, but we'll take a shortcut. Yeah, we have even more down this end here. So we've got some more fighters all tucked in their bays there, more of those sparrows, more fighters on this side. And there's even like a variant here. There's like a two-seater variant here, so it's got like an extended cockpit there. So there's a slightly different design to the other fighters as well, tucked away at the back here as well. So this is the lower flight deck with the repair bay just underneath. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with how far we've come with this one. Thankfully, we have just updated to 1.18.1, which means that I've been able to use MightyHigh again, which has enabled me to do a bit of tracking on the sort of the lighting and everything else like that to make sure that all of this is non-spawnable. So there's nowhere here that's spawnable. But as you can see with the lighting levels, we get to go down to lighting level 1 if we want to in areas. So we do have a lot darker patches than you might have had in old Minecraft builds. But yeah, I tried to go for this idea of the hangar deck, but also still keep that sort of gothic theme with all the pillars and the lighting around as well, just to give it that sort of imagery as well at the same time. So I think it kind of works. I think it works. But yeah, I'm happy with where that's gone to. But the next step is obviously that fighter lift there. That craft lift there, that's going up to here, which at the moment is completely blank other than say for the ceiling. So we're going to need to sort out this deck next, which will have like another fighter bay here, plus runways at the front. So you can see we've got the diagonal runway above us. That's where we're planning to with this netherrack. But we plan to also have like a runway on this level coming out from here, and like a second level of fighter bays underneath the diagonal runway. So hopefully that will all work out, and we'll be a bit step further. And we're back over here in our base a second, or in S.P.I.R.E surplus, and we got our signing in book here. And look at this nonsense. Flehzy, we're not in February yet. 1st of February 2022, and it's still January. I'm guessing he's put the American dating system in there, whereas everything else has followed the British date system. So we'll fix that. We'll change that over. So he should have been here on the 2nd of the 1st there. Because, yeah, I mean, okay, American dating systems and differences between American and British dating systems. But seriously, I mean, I know there's a bit of a discrepancy and an argument between US and UK way of doing things, or US and the rest of the world does things differently, but it doesn't make sense to put the middle date at the beginning. You know, it's like middle largest number in the at the beginning, and then the smallest denotional unit in the middle, and then the highest unit. No, that makes no sense. The other way around makes more sense, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to this. So let's fix that. Now, in the process of doing all this, you may realise that I'm using an awful lot of concrete, which is using grey dye, and the only way to make grey dye is to mix black dye and white dye, which white dye is not a problem. We got loads of bone meal generation, but we're not getting enough black dye, and so the only solution really has been for me so far is to go out hunting squid. But MightyHigh has just recently managed to set up a wither rose farm, something that's quite difficult in itself. So it's a great kudos to him that he's managed to get it working and producing large amounts of wither roses, which can be converted into black dye. So I made a bit of a deal with MightyHigh to exchange 20 diamonds for a shulker box. If you can find a way into the base, that is. I can hear you. You just passed an entrance.
Oh, there he is.
You might want to use the round entrances on the side to fly in if you're coming in for a flight.
Oh. This thing.
In it? Yeah, there we are. That's the portal room.
I can't see you.
You can't see me?
Oh, there you are. Now I can. There you go.
Brilliant. And bunch of diamonds to make you rich. Do you want a shulker box as well to replace yours?
Nah, it's alright, don't worry about it.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, I need to collect those anyway, so it's fine.
This is awesome, thank you. This helps me out a great deal.
Where that came from anyway.
Awesome. Well, this is going to last us probably a day or two.
Oh, yeah. I was just stunned at looking at flying past. I was like, okay.
Now you see why I need so much blacking.
Yeah.
I need it for all the grey concrete. It's getting there. It's getting there. I mean, I got some of the internals done as well. You know, I got the storage room down there as well. You know, like the farms and stuff is all through here. And then I got the hangar decks up above. It's starting to get there.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm not gonna look around too much just in case anything spoiler territory. But
No, it's alright. It's cool.
Off camera, I'll have a look around anyway.
That's alright. Oh, why am I chucking my sword away?
I do it all the time. Yeah, I'm digging out a slime chunk at the moment, so that's fun.
Oh, that's fun. I did hear you were doing it in the ocean.
Yeah. It's just because they're the first slime chunks I saw, so I just took the opportunity when I could, because I couldn't be bothered to just like dig around and then wait for slime to spawn when people are online. It just takes ages.
Oh,
it took me a while to figure out they were actually slime chunks as well, so it can be a pain in the butt sometimes.
That's fair.
So yeah, I always end up getting the grindy jobs, don't I?
Well, yeah, the Wither Farm. Yeah, the Wither Farm, then the slime chunks. You've done the Guardian Temple.
Yeah. Hopefully my next farms are just going to be simple.
Your next one will be a wheat farm or something.
Yeah.
Sugarcane.
Farm, then the perimeter next.
Yeah, that's it. Perimeter's next on that one. Gas farm. What's the other complicated ones?
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting actually. Anyway, stop giving me ideas.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mighty. Much appreciated. Ta-da. And another belt of progress. 2 days worth of work as the sun is setting over here. And we have the lower flight deck in place and the upper hangar as well, which we're coming into here. So we have this upper flight deck, which I haven't completely finished it. There's still some bits to go into here, but we've got the main tarmac down for it. So I suppose it's tarmac on there, maybe probably metal or something like that that's on the deck there. I got this little side section here, which I'll probably put like a couple of weapon systems on here, and I'll probably build up this area here so it's got like a little bit of a crew area as well off to the side here, just to help give it a little bit more shape. But then we've got a bunch of these fighters all sort of stacked along the side of the runway here. It's like a dual runway. We've got one fighter sitting here waiting on the runway itself. And if we fly over here, again, this is all work in progress. So we've got the hangar built, but we haven't built the exterior to it, because imagine the control tower will be coming up into this section here. So we're going to be building up this section with the internal components of the ship. But over to here, we have the upper hangar itself, which again just has space for a bunch more fighters all sort of stored in here. And like the lower hangar, which we saw a minute ago, there will be an elevator as well, which is what's in this corner here. We've still got it a bit planned out. I haven't built it yet. But that's going to be another elevator that will take aircraft up to the upper flight deck. So that's the lower flight deck in front of us. That will be the upper flight deck with another set of runways behind us. And if we come behind here, we'll see that there's even more fighters tucked away behind here. And their access is just straight down there to the lift as well there. And you'll see we've got this block right in the middle here, which is probably a little bit irritating. It's right in the middle of the upper hangar bay. And we come up here, I've got a bit of a platform here, which I'll probably put like a few workstations and stuff. Like it's almost like the flight crew, the deck crew also work from here and get various items and stuff like that, and can oversee the hangar in the upper hangar bay here. They can see all the fighters from up here. It's not just here for the practical purposes of that, though. It's also because you might be able to hear it in the background. There is a zombie beneath us. That's because this is the top of the iron farm. So the iron farm is directly beneath us. So this block actually needs to be up to this sort of height to prevent the iron golems spawning up here. If this block was much lower, the iron golems might be possible to spawn on top of here and not into the iron farm itself, and thus we would lose our iron supply, because you'd have iron golems wandering around the top of the ship here, which is not what we want. So I needed to build this up so that it was actually containing the iron farm underneath. So the iron farm is just beneath our feet there. Gives you an idea of where this is in relative location to the rest of the actual ship as well. Yeah, things are going well. If I'll kick this sleep and go to daytime a second, and I'm loving how the BSL mod is making all the lights pop and glow down here as well. And also this, the light, like look at these light rays coming in through the front of the hangar here. When the sun rises, it rises over the front here, and so the light rays just beam into the hangar, which I absolutely love. I absolutely love. Let's oh, I need to get onto rockets. There we are. Take off. Couldn't take off for a second. So this is starting to look the part here. We're starting to get this sort of shape and idea of what the top hangar decks are going to look like. Let's see if we can get up and get a better view if we're not moving too fast. I want to try and slow down. There we are. So that we got our actual lower flight deck here with the twin runways. You can see we've also got the elevator we built from below for the lower hangar. It's just in there. And then if we come up to here, this is going to be our upper flight deck. This is where the elevator at the back of the upper hangar will come out to at the back there. And you can see this is part of getting this right requires a degree of planning, quite a bit of planning. You can see I've got lines being produced down here. This is so I can plan out the runways. And I'll probably do a dual runway like we got on that deck for the upper deck as well. I think that's going to work quite nicely across the runway here because, you know, these sort of dual runways are designs that you could either have two planes taking off or landing at the same time. But if you've got bigger aircraft as well, they could actually just go down the center as well, so it's not like it's a problem. But this is going to be the next step, is we're going to probably build this and probably have a couple of little bit spaces again just off to the side to enable a couple more fighters to be stored up here as well. So that's going to have a bit more capacity here. And then probably maybe some more fighters at the back here as well. And then that's going to leave us space. I won't do it on this episode, but I'll leave us space then to build the control tower and more of the structure of the ship down on this side here. So the control tower will come off this side, overlooking both runways, and also being able to sort of have a good commanding view of the top of the vessel itself. Though it's not the main bridge for controlling it, we've already built the bridge itself. We just got to put the consoles into it, which we did in the last episode. But the control tower will be there for directing the aircraft and stuff on the top there. Having separated control tower and bridge, you know, this might seem a bit odd if you're used to modern aircraft carriers, like if you've seen like the NIPS class that the Americans use. They have like one control tower, which is also the bridge for the ship, but actually separating the two off, I think even on those ones, it's actually the bridge is a separate room and one's on top of the other. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure they're actually, even though they're both in the same sort of structure on the ship, they are actually separate rooms, one for controlling the ship and one for controlling or monitoring the takeoff and landing of the ships. But the brand new British Queen Elizabeth class that's just come out, they've just launched in the last couple of years, that one is not much smaller than this, and that actually has two structures instead of one structure. So whereas normally there's one control tower, they actually have two on there, and one of them is the bridge. The front one I think is the bridge for the ship, and the second one is the control tower for the aircraft. Though I think they've also got redundant backups as well in each one as well, if I remember rightly from the stats. Again, don't quote me on it, but it is it's a nice looking aircraft carrier. But if we also then look at things like the Shield helicarrier, for example, which this has drawn a large amount of inspiration from, it separates it out as well. So it does have a control tower on the top here, but its bridge on the Avengers helicarrier, or the Shield helicarrier, is actually where we've put ours as well. It's right on the bottom with this view over the sea and the land below. So it does actually separate it out in that way. So it's not too inaccurate to have a separate bridge and control tower. Just come over to town, and things keep changing all the time down here. One of the things is I've actually readjusted the prices down here. So as well as our promotion that we showed earlier over there, we've adjusted the prices, and now we have, because some of the things we're getting more in stock of. So we've got end rods, for example, and blaze rods I've actually reduced the price on so that you get a bit more for your buck on that one. Same with the kelp blocks as well. Now that our kelp furnaces are starting to fill up, they're not quite full, but they're getting closer. I've made the price a little bit more economic in that, and they'll probably come a little bit more economic in the future as well. We'll probably do like one diamond, a couple of stacks once we've got it in full swing. It'll take probably about another week or two before we can actually get that fully up and running. Also turn around and doing dripstone as well for one diamond stack. But we've also including a couple of new items. We've got purple blocks there. We're doing one diamond for 32 blocks. That's like half a stack for one diamond at the moment. Again, that price may improve as we produce more purple blocks, but at the moment that's where we're at. And TNT, we got so much gunpowder. That gunpowder farm is overflowing like nobody's business. And you know, if we sort of look in these barrels at the side here, you can see there's more. Actually, I had so much that I ended up bringing a load down here and keeping it surplus. Not only do we have it all stacked around here, but if we come into this craft here at the back here, you can see we have filled up the back over here as well with loads of gunpowder because we just got so much of it. So I dug up a load of sand and I've included TNT as well. So that's going for one diamond a stack at the moment, which I think is a really, like, our prices are really reasonable here because we've got so much gunpowder. And I've also adjusted the prices on the rockets and the gunpowder itself. So it's like one diamond for 9 stacks of gunpowder or one diamond for 9 stacks of rockets. Which I think is a really good deal in there. And yeah, we filled up with TNT there as well. It's doing very, very well. So we got all of those as well. But the a couple of things I wanted to check out. First of all, if we go over here, LadyBex has said that she's done something with her starter home. She wanted us to... Oh, that's nice. I like that. Hang on. Let's have a look at... We need to have a properly look at this. She said next time we're in town, make sure we're recording. She wanted to see our reactions when we came over here for our starter home. And look at that. A couple of foxes. I love foxes. I am a big, big fan of foxes. And yeah, there was a second. We got sirens going off in the background there. Yes, I mean, I do live in a busy town, so we do get the emergency services going past every now and then. But look at that. That's beautiful. Do adore that. I do love foxes. I see them all the time. Here in Britain, we have them all over the place. They're very urbanized. I mean, if it was only a couple of weeks ago, I was up a friend's house, and as I was walking home, I bumped into a fox on the way there, and yeah, they're not that massively timid over here at the moment to humans. I've had a few close encounters with foxes in the years, and I think they're beautiful, wonderful creatures. And probably one of the cutest critters as well in Minecraft. I had a fox-powered sweetberry farm last season, and yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a couple of foxes in a game, but there's no real purpose for a sweetberry farm other than to produce bone meal, because, you know, there are better food sources. So it's really just for producing bone meal. So maybe we might do another fox sort of unit. Maybe we should include one, because I do like foxes. But yeah, that's a very cool starter home. I really like that. Right, okay. The other thing I wanted to check was, because I was down here earlier, I'm going to have my little rant again, as you heard earlier. Look at this. Look at this. If we go in here. So, LadyBex has signed in on the 1st of March, and Cryptid has signed in on the 3rd of March. Like, what? What? No, not this American dating system. Sorry, right, it's got to go over to British dating system. In fairness, I will, I'll often defend, actually, there's the continual battles between the differences between British English and American English, and sometimes people will from either side will take a little bit of the mick on the other one's languages and everything else. Why does British English have U's in the word colour, for example, and things like that is the classic examples going back and forwards, and people talk about British English being traditional English and American English being simplified English, and it's all a little bit of banter and everything else like that. I don't think anyone thinks anything seriously of it, and yeah, I will often defend that, because the thing is, when our languages separated many, many hundred years ago, there was no such things as dictionaries, there was no standardization. So really, actually, American English is just as valid as British English, even though British English is where England is, which is obviously where English originated, which English in itself is an amalgamation of multiple languages. It's Germanic root, which has adapted Latin, French, and various other languages have become adapted into the language over the years. But yeah, the variations between the two, they both have just as big a stake and claim to being it, because at the time when they separated, there was no standardization anyway. So it's only later on you start getting things like dictionaries. Not that dictionaries, this is one thing that also people get mixed up. They think dictionaries' job is to sit there to define the language. It's not. The dictionary's purpose is to report the language. So it's reporting the common uses. And this is why words that enter common vocabulary end up in the dictionary. Rather than it sort of saying, oh, it's not in the dictionary, therefore it's not a valid word. No, that's not the way it works. And this is where we end up with some weird stuff like that. For example, like the word irregardless. Now that winds a lot of people up, because irregardless means... well, it's nonsensical compared to in the syntax of it. The correct usage of irregardless is actually regardless. Normally when people say irregardless, and I used to make this mistake when I was younger, I used to say irregardless. It's not the correct wording for that. It should be regardless, at least in syntax. But irregardless is now used so regularly, even though it's an incorrect syntax, as to mean regardless, that, yeah, it now has entered the dictionary because it's in common usage. It's the same reason why, like, internet acronyms also appear in the dictionary. Things like LOL and LMAO all appear in the dictionary because they're abbreviations that are in common usage that have come about because of the internet. definition of a mouse in the dictionary. A is a small rodent, but B is also the device that we use with our PCs for moving our cursors around. So it does change, and its job is to report, not to actually define. And the differences between American and British English they're both as valid as languages. So I will defend that as much as people have that bit of a banter between the two. And the same with weights and measures. We had this discussion actually the other day when we were talking to one of the other guys on the server there. We were sort of saying about like how they didn't quite realise that over here in Britain that we still use imperial measurements for a lot of stuff. Like, for example, when we're talking about speeds, we will measure everything in mph over in the UK, which is imperial, not metric. And you know, a lot of people take the mick out of America because they still do a lot of imperialistic stuff. Though there's a great video by Neil deGrasse Tyson who will turn around and talk about the idea that actually there is a lot of stuff that is done under metric in America. There's a lot of stuff, and if I can find the video, I'll pop a link to it in the description below, because it's a great video that actually goes and points out that not everything in America is imperial, though they do use a lot of imperial stuff. But conversely, Britain's not much different either in that sense. It might not be the same things in every single case, but generally speaking, if we're talking about the height of a person, most of us still measure height in foot and inches over here. We'll do our weight in stone and pounds. And if you've got personal weight, we might measure other things, or in using metric system, but we will use imperial still. There's still some stuff that we hold out on imperial, and mph, miles per hour, and also mpg, miles per gallon, which we use in our vehicles, is still used over here. So there are still quite some similarities and everything else that people don't realise. But the dating system, I just still can't get the idea around the idea of why the American dating system is actually. I kind of do, because I saw a comment the other day that was said in regards to this about the differences between the American and British dating system. And I don't know how true this was. It was just basically, it was someone commenting from America about like, why would we have our dating system, the rest of the world have the dating system the way we have it, when you don't say it in the order and the thing. And I've sort of realised, well, this might be language related, because it may be that, and maybe some American viewers can turn around and say whether this is true or not. You wouldn't say, like, for example, the 3rd of January, you say January the 3rd. So if you were describing the date, like we're seeing in there, it would be the 3rd of January, January the 3rd, 2022, which would be then that order. So it would be the month, then the day, and then the year, which is the same order in which they put it in. That's the way they say it. But the rest of the world, including here in Britain, we would turn around and we'd say it either way, but we would turn around and say the 3rd of January. So we would put the day, which is the smallest unit, followed by the month, which is the next largest unit, followed by the year, which is the unit above it. So, I mean, I don't know, but I prefer British dating system, so we're going to correct it. We just came over here to add some quests to the board, and someone's already beaten us to it, it seems. Look at this. Doc Block, oh, that's going in the barrel. Doc Block has turned around and put up a bit of a quest to turn around and have a collection point built for the 1,000,000 diamond ransom he has put on the server. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're happy about that one. But we put some quests up of our own as well up here, actually. We've got one here where we are needing to basically try and track down Doc Blocks. We don't want to pay $1 million, so we're going to need some listening outposts built around the world. And so I put up a quest to see if any of the other guys on the Unorthoblocks server can help us out. We're building some outposts around the world, some listening posts around the world, so we can try and work out where his outposts are hidden. And also, we got this one as well, because, yeah, we have some animals floating around in the sea under our base. And they need to be rescued. So if any of the Unorthoblocks members are watching and fancy some quests, there's a few little quests there, a few bits of rewards up and available for you. And we have got the final part done for this week, which is going to bring the episode to conclusion, which is that we have built the upper flight deck as well. Look at this. We now have the upper runways as well, with a couple more fighters sort of tucked on either side of the carrier there, plus a lift at the back. The lift has been built as well with its maintenance mechanisms at the back there. But yes, we have both flight decks are in play, as well as the hangar decks are all built and everything as well, which I'm really happy with the progress this week. Obviously, there's a lot of work still to go on. We've got to build the hull structure, So obviously these things aren't going to just be floating around in the sky like they are. They're going to be connected to the ship properly. And we need to build sort of a tower over here as well. There may be space for 1 or 2 more craft by the time we build all the rest of the ship structure. But I didn't want to start putting those spaces in just yet until we knew exactly how big and how much space some of these structures were going to take up in this area. So we're going to probably crack on with that in the next couple of weeks, get those ones built up in the next couple of episodes. But I'm really happy with the progress we've made this week. With this sort of the hangars and the runways on top, we're starting to see the shape of the SkyCarrier coming through now. Obviously, we've still got the hull to build around the outside, so this is like literally just the bare bones, sort of the biggest components inside, and I wanted to make sure we covered enough space to get all the big components first before we began work on the hull, so we know we've got enough space to actually incorporate like our multi-farm, our storage systems, like, you know, the portal room, the bridge, the hangar decks. All of these are big components, and we needed to make sure we had the space for them before we built the hull. Now we've got those built, we can now build the hull around those things, and also gives ourselves a bit of space. You can see there's like a lot of dead space at the moment between all the bits and pieces here, and by the time we sort of build the hull coming down and around and everything else, there will still be plenty more space, which is what we're going to use then for building the rest of the internal components, and we'll squeeze the rest of the internal components into those spaces. But yeah, great progress this week. Very, very happy with that. Don't forget to check out the rest of the Unorthoblocks members. They have been doing a lot in the last couple of weeks as well since we started up, so go and check out their videos. They're all linked up below, and we will catch you again next time. In the meantime, I've been Draken. This is the DrakenGameWerks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye!